For British GT's 359th race, we are at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, and we've hooked up with the French GT Championship for one really big grid, because we've got British GT3 and GT4 and the French GT4 and the Alpine European Cup as well, to give us a very, very busy circuit. And qualifying in glorious, if very, very hot conditions is about to get underway. It's going to be the usual format, in as much as the British GT3 and GT4 drivers will have standalone sessions, and there's also going to be an extra pair put into the mix for each driver in the combined French and Alpine Cup segments. So there's a lot to look forward to. What it does mean is the circuit's going to be relatively quiet today, but you put them all together for tomorrow for a 2-hour race, and it's going to be very busy around this 7-kilometre long circuit. David Addison and Joe Osborne trackside, Bryn Lucas down in the pit lane. Let's get the traffic thing out of the way first, Joe. It is going to be a crowded house for the race, but at least now, split the classes, and GT cars there down the pit lane. GT3 goes first. At least now you do have the chance of a clear circuit occasionally.
Yeah, and this is borderline heaven for a driver. Spa qualifying trim, so low fuel, new tyres, and not many cars to get in your way. So drivers now will go onto this just over 7-kilometre circuit to go and find some space. But yeah, you're right, David. Tomorrow the race is a completely different proposition. The amount of cars and the speed differential almost makes qualifying more important, because if you're at the sharp end, you're going to have a better chance of clearing those cars without being in a gaggle of your own. And I think that's what the teams are going to be telling these drivers now, to go and get your lap in and make sure you're giving your teammate a chance, as we see the race on the outlap already starting.
And you've got, in the majority of cases here, your lower graded driver doing the time in Q1. So there, Kevin Say getting past Jonathan Beeson, who's had a very good season thus far. They did really well, Jonathan Beeson and Charles Clark, to score an absolute bank raid of points at Silverstone as the best placed of the season registered drivers. So they're coming here second behind Andrew Howard and Ross Gunn. And remember that in the case of the 2-hour format, you are adding together the times of the two drivers. There's Mike Price back in the championship with Callum McLeod. There McLaren turning its way out of Pouhon, the car being run by Optimum Motorsport. It really has become the go-to McLaren team. 78 behind the wheel is Alex Martin, former Porsche and indeed British Touring Car Championship racer. And on an absolute mission is the Mercedes out of the 2Cs stable, Kevin Say at the wheel, and he there, look, comes into Blanchimont trying to get ahead of the queue, get the clear track space. The one thing that they can't afford to do in this, because they've only got 10 minutes, is you can't be throwing away laps due to track limit offences. You've got to be neat and tidy and precise. Yeah, exactly. One track limit offence, you lose the whole lap, as you now see Martin back out of it to try and get that space to the BMW of Beeson, who was called up to Stuart earlier for some contact with the Optimum McLaren, so they'll be looking for a clean one. But Alex Martin now starts his first flying lap in some good space. So up towards the timing line then they come. Kevin Say goes through, Jonathan Beeson goes through, Alex Martin, Rob Collard, Ian Loggy we are pleased to have back in the championship. And he is with Aaron Walker once again, as there up through Rouge and up Radion now goes Kevin Say. We're about to start to piece together the first proper flying lap of this session. So the Mercedes AMG, a car that always seems well suited to Spa, with all that grunt to pull it up the hills, gets to the end of sector 1, and on this lap, let's see what Kevin Say does. Absolute best then, better than those that have gone through on that previous outlap of 40.4. We'll see, though, really, for how long that stays the best sector time. I didn't think that Mercedes, Kevin Say, looked very good under braking. Hit the brake, maybe he wasn't fully straight, but had a big old bounce up. The bonnet having a flap as well. So we see that a bit on the Mercedes. Seems like the leading edge of the bonnet can catch the air, but it didn't look easy for Kevin Say as he hit the brakes there. And the purple sector for sector 1 now claimed by Rob Collard. Nearly 2/10 quicker than anybody else in that first sector alone. So there's the BMW, Charles Clark at the wheel of it, coming downhill, heading into Pouhon. And the BMW, which always looks a big, big car, but again, well suited to this place with all of that grunt.
Yeah, and this mid-sector as well here, sector 2, so important. To have a good aero balance, and the BMW always strong there. Alex Martin coming through, and the BMW seems to be catching the Jonathan Beeson one. And here is the 63, Rob Collard. We're talking about purple, sector 1, looking okay through sector 2, maybe slightly wide. Well, the Lamborghini unable to ride those apex curbs, uses all the road and more. One more corner to go in this middle sector, and then we'll get the final sector starting now in between the two Stavolos.
I said it was a 10-minute session. You might be saying, well, why is the clock showing half an hour plus? That's the combined time that Q1 for GT3 and GT4 and the French GT driver won, with the slight little gaps between to get each session underway, will take. So it's not that they get half an hour or initially 35 minutes. It's the combined time that all of the classes will take to cycle through Q1, and then they go again with a second driver for Q2. There, over the timing line, is Kevin Say, and that's a 2:19.416 as the only car to have done a lap time. So guess what? That's pole, but I suspect others are going to be able to go faster, like Rob Collard, for example, who comes across the line and gets up to second on a 2:20.054. Ian Loggie's Mercedes AMG goes through. There's Mark Smith's McLaren in the background. Then you've got the next of the Optimum McLarens with Mark Warren across the timing line, and then Morgan Tilbrook behind him. Tilbrook, remember, a winner last time out at Alton Park, so they carry compensation time going into tomorrow's race, and it's a longer amount of compensation time because it's a 2-hour race.
Yeah, Mark Warren, actually, that was his out lap. So interesting to know why they were so late out. So there we see Simon Orange in the 67 car, squirming there. Gravel on the exit of 1, gravel now on the exit of Lacumas. Kevin Say is our trailblazer, isn't he? He's the first one through. He has improved on sector 1, but so is Rob Collard, 5/10 quicker than Kevin Say in sector 1 alone. Yeah,
Rob Collard's is an absolute best. So number 63 Lamborghini, Rob Collard at the wheel of it, one to watch. He always goes well here. He's been a class winner, don't forget, Rob, within the 24 hours of Spa. So on track, Say ahead of Beeson, ahead of Martin, and there Rob Collard in the almost familiar Barwell livery. Now very wide in the background, that was Ian Loggie taking to the dirt, so hopefully he's got away with that. You're riding on board with Collard now as he comes through Port, all the aero doing its work, sticking the car on the ground and making his way now on towards pit path.
Yeah, so it's a repeat of the previous lap, purple sector 1 for this car, but it has been reported for track limits at turn 17, so the previous lap has gone already for the 63 car. What's his sector 2 going to be like? He's going to cross the beam any second now. We'll get the timing screens updated, and because he's dropped all the way down, and there's a car in the barrier.
That's the Ian Loggie car, which, remember, had run wide at Speaker's Corner, and now it's gone off the road coming out of Pith Path. And I'm not entirely convinced that's going to be able to get going from there.
No, Rob Collard will want to finish this lap, though, because he's on a great lap, and he's got about 15 seconds to try and get to the line. Remember, if the red flag comes out, this clock is stopped, and no one can register a time.
So here they come then into the chicane. Collard misses the braking point, goes deep, and it's all got messy. He needs a lap because it's going to be a banker. Chris Needell from Barwell in the black shirt looking on. Rob Collard does get to the line, and he goes second then on the 2:19.841, but it could have been a little bit better had it been tidier.
4/10 off pole. There was more than that left at the bus stop chicane. Just broke too late. Was that desperation that the team told him they need to get the lap in? Mark Warren running very straight to the line. Tilbrook behind him in this gaggle of McLarens. At the moment, I can't see this car getting out the barrier, and I think, unfortunately, a red flag is the only option.
But I'm trying to work out how much of the 10 minutes we have had elapsed. Probably we've only got another couple, really. So it might be that Peter Daly is content to just leave it there under a yellow flag. We'll see. But Rob Collard at least has a banker lap. Kevin Say's 2:19.4 remains the top time. And Simon Orange now has gone third.
Yeah, good lap from Simon Orange to be the fastest McLaren. Here's Martin getting held up by the BMW. This was the gap he got. Ian Loggie, obviously all okay. Just maybe checking the damage, and it's quite an awkward place for him to get out there. He's going to have to climb over that tyre wall to get to safety.
But the frustration is that although there is a lap time on the board, it's a not great one, and others, red flag show now. The session is being stopped. Others could go better and push him down the order. I think that's going to end up starting effectively at the back of GT3, and so the session is interrupted. I think Peter Daly, as race director, for as long as Ian Loggie was in the car, knew there was a chance it might reverse. As soon as he saw him get out, he knew it wasn't moving.
Yeah, I think Peter Daly was smart as well, because this was our lead car, so until that car of Kevin Say got to Mercedes, he was relatively safe to leave it there, let everyone get a lap on the board that potentially would have have lost if he called the red immediately. Cars slowing down to 80k. We'll be going past the crime scene here of the sister car in the barrier. But it was obviously a lively lap for Loggy. He had the moment, like you said, coming down the hill out of Speaker's Corner and has finally found the sort of the inside coming out of Piff Paff. So I'd imagine he's dropped it on the gravel on the X and it's sent him to the inside.
We've had 8 minutes and 8 seconds of this first part of qualifying, and it's 10 minutes in duration, which means there is not enough time to get out and do an outlap. And there was Ian Loggy. Remember, he'd run wide at Speaker's Corner already, and then goes wide on his dirty tyres at Piff Paff, and he's spat across the road. So straight away, the GT4 cars for British GT are coming down the pit lane. So that's Q1 done. So Kevin Say, a 2:19.416, Rob Collard 2:19.841, and third Simon Orange 2:20.036. So the GT4 cars are ready to go. We just need the circuit to be cleared. Slightly embarrassing for Ian Loggy though, that. And he's an experienced driver, in fairness. I'm not having a pop at him, but you know he's done a lot of miles as Ian, so it's an uncharacteristic error for him.
Yeah, you would have him down as a safe pair of hands and a fast pair as well with his history now. He's one of the most experienced GT3 AM drivers out there as the GT4s get ready for the start of their session. The top three, interestingly, are in the right order. If you put their best sectors together to generate their theoretical lap time, they are 1, 2 and 3. So they will be happy that they've put a good time on the board for their teammate to come out. And remember, it's a combined time that will decide the grid.
At the head of the GT4 queue, BMW number 24, which has got Brandon Templeton at the wheel of it. There is the championship leading Aston Martin just going through. Andrew Howard, 7th in the times. One of the aspects of this race, all the French championship cars have got a 0 or 00 prefix to their numbers, which therefore means Andrew Howard runs a 7 rather than 007, much to the chagrin of Aston Martin's marketing, no doubt.
So he's lost the James Bondness to the French, which seems ironic, doesn't it? I don't think this car's going to get back out, is it? Even if Ian Loggy could drive it back to pit lane, I don't think Aaron Walker's going to get a chance in that car, which is unfortunate, especially this weekend. I believe there isn't a warm-up tomorrow, like there normally is at British GT weekend. So the next time we see the car will be Ian Loggy on the formation lap.
Unless they can get a hardship lap tomorrow morning, just one lap, pit out to pit in, just to make sure that the damage is not too serious. But yeah, it didn't look that hard a hit, but it's like all these things, when you start to see the car out of the barrier, you realise that there's bodywork torn and it'll have tweaked the suspension and it may have taken some hoses off as well, and the more you look, the more you find.
Yeah, might not look a hard hit, but there's 40 to 50,000 euros worth of damage there on the Mercedes. And there is Rob Collard getting out. Lucky to get that second lap in, but yeah, big mistake at the last chicane, wasn't it? Only 4 tenths behind Kevin Say, and I think he knows he could have been on pole position. And now it will go down to the teammates as we go back to green.
He might yet get onto pole position, depending on the relative lap times of Ben Green and Hugo Cook, because it's their times added to their co-drivers, of course. So we will wait and see, as the order is Kevin Say from Rob Collard from Simon Orange, 4 tenths between the top 2 and 6 tenths between first and third. So there is the number 8 Porsche making its way on track. That's Ian Duggan chasing after Brandon Templeton, Luke Shaw in the Ginetta, and then number 27, which is Daniel Lavery next up. Ernie Graham ventures out the BMW. 74 is going to be Hadley Simpson in the Innovation Racing Ginetta that did so well at Silverstone in the opening round. So this is Q1B for the British Championship GT4 cars. Same principle, 10 minutes for them. And as they head up towards Les Camps, let's hear from the quickest man in GT3 thus far. It's Kevin Say, who was the fastest, 4 tenths clear of the opposition, and Kevin is with Bryn Lucas.
Tough conditions out there, Kevin, and we saw across the garage Ian have a big moment there and end up in the barrier, in the tyre stack. For yourself, though, pretty good performance.
It's still very hot out there. It's not used to this in Spa, but yeah, we had a terrible Silverstone, to be honest. Average Alton Park, and yeah, back in Spa, where we're strong, the team is very strong, the car is very strong. Yeah, to be on pole in my session the first time in the year is great.
Rob Collard behind you was looking pretty good as well. It just went a bit of ride for him at the bus stop there. So there's a lot of pace from a lot of the other cars too.
Of course, Rob is always quick, and tomorrow we do have a success penalty, but there will be a lot of traffic for sure, and it will be a very hot day, very hot race. So let's see.
Crystal ball on overtime. Well done.
Thanks, Brent. Thank you.
Well, the story is not quite over. Rob Collard has lost the lap that he was counting on because that had a track limit offence on it as well. So Rob Collard's other best lap taken away, and he's got no other lap time. So the 2 laps that Collard did both exceeded track limits, and that now puts that car to the back of the GT3 grid, and no matter what Hugo Cook does, there's nothing to add it to. Neither of Rob's laps have stood.
No, so he's in the same boat as Ian Logie. Well, he's worse because Ian Logie actually did put a lap on the board. So Rob Collard's the only one without a lap. Turn 16. I feel like we went on board with Rob at that point. I don't remember seeing a track limit. So it'd be interesting to get Rob's views on that one. But yeah, he has had a very messy quali.
Yeah, it was at turn 16, so wide out of Cours Paul Frere maybe.
I assume they're calling 16 the entry to 17 because 16's a nothing corner in a GT3, but the entry to 17 is a use and abuse hotspot. But like I said at the time, I feel like we were on board, and I didn't notice it. It's late in the afternoon here, so maybe I'm being lazy.
Oh, hang on, it says in my handy guide to spontaneity, lazy Joe, surely not. Right, there 24, Brandon Templeton. Looking to try to set the gun time within GT4 as the clock ticks on down. The next group will be the first cars from the French Championship. Don't forget, these aren't going to be threatening the GT3 times. This is a grid within a grid. And the BMW then up towards Le Commun. In fairness to Brandon Templeton, he's got exactly what he needs. That's clear space all around him.
Yeah, and that's so important here at Spa. The dirty air from the car in front really hurts the car through the fast corners. The toe helps, of course, but then it's a bigger loss in dirty air, even in these more road car production-based GT4 cars. So Century have done a good job at giving Templeton the best opportunity just to pump some laps in unaffected.
So the BMW, with that good rorty noise that it makes, heads down the hill. Lots of BMWs here in a week's time because the GT4 European Series will be on track, and the M4 always a very competitive car within that championship. If you're back in the UK watching this and you're thinking, should I go next week to the 24 hours? The answer is absolutely yes, you should. From Thursday onwards, the track is always busy. And it's an absolute festival of GT racing. Lamborghini Trophy, McLaren Trophy, GT4, GT3 Legends, and also, of course, GT World Challenge Europe and Intercontinental GT Challenge forming the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa. Number 84 is Blake Anglis there in the McLaren that now comes out of the Paddock Motorsport stable. The name Mahiki has rather disappeared from entry lists, so other teams running the cars that Mahiki was doing at the start of the year.
Yeah, they've split, haven't they? So this car is run by Paddock, and the GT3 car of Stephen Lake and Tom Wood this weekend being run by JMH. So JMH double up their entry. We're so used to it just being Simon Orange and Marcus Clutton, of course. So that's going to be interesting for that team as well, as those Mahiki cars dissolve into new teams. So down towards the chicane comes Daniel Lavery. There to set the target time is Brandon Templeton, so 2 minutes 30.970 is the fastest GT4 time, but then behind him is Dan Lavery, Alton Park winner, he goes second. Then you've got Blake Anglis to come across the line, and he goes quickest in the McLaren, 2 minutes 30.693. Luke Shaw goes by, and he goes up to third. This is Ernie Graham's BMW heading towards the line. Behind him, Hadley Simpson, so we've now got Blake Anglis to the top, 2 minutes 30.693 from Brandon Templeton. Yeah, still waiting to see what Josh Stanton can do in the 59 Optimum McLaren here. He could be well up there. Jess Hawkins, James Townsend, John Hartshaw still to complete their first flying lap.
But a good first effort by Brandon Templeton, that 2 minutes 30.9, couple of tenths up on the opposition. Hadley Simpson then goes through, and as you say, John Hartshorn owes us a time, so does Josh Stanton here coming into the chicane, so does Jessica Hawkins, James Townsend. Right, so the McLaren back into view, comes out of the chicane. That's good for track limits, that's absolutely fine as Josh Stanton breaks the beam and is fastest in GT4, 2 minutes 30.594, just a thousandth shy of a tenth quicker than the Brandon Templeton BMW.
Yeah, Hartshorn goes across to push Ernie Graham into last place in Pro-Am, but the Pro-Am part of GT4 currently led by Luke Shaw. This is James Townsend. He's our last GT4 Pro-Am not to put a lap on the board. Sectors have been really good. This could take the lead in the Pro-Am element as he crosses the line now. He actually goes third. The last sector, not great, but a good opening lap from James Townsend in the Fox Motorsport Aston as Jessica Hawkins crosses the line to go third overall in GT4.
Good lap, though, by Josh Stanton. What can Blake Anglis do on his next lap? Well, he can go quicker in Sector 1, but he can't do an absolute best GT4 in Sector 1 as the car now comes through the Cours Paul Frere. He's got Dan Lavery's Aston Martin just up the road ahead, but Blake Anglis certainly trying hard. And although he's got a car ahead, he's not being impeded, so he's got enough clear track space around him. Session ticks on down. So this first part now having run to 19 minutes, so we're heading towards the checkered flag as far as the GT4 cars are concerned, and Dan Lavery is heading up towards the line. There goes Brandon Templeton, and that puts him up to second again. Blake Anglis has got another roll of the dice. He emerges from the chicane. He will head over the timing line, and as Dan Lavery goes through, Blake Anglis goes back to the top of the times. 2 minutes 30.348 as you look at Ian Duggan's Porsche briefly there.
Yeah, so 2.5 tenths clear now of the other McLaren from Optimum. Hadley Simpson coming across the line. What can he do? It's a good first sector, not a great middle sector. The final one means it's not an improvement on his time. Ernie Graham comes across the line and doesn't improve either. Pit exit closed now. That shouldn't affect anyone. All GT4s are on track, so that's just to make sure no one leaves and basically disrupts the session towards the end. Can this car improve? Can he claim back the pole position for this first part of quality?
The answer is possibly, because he's improved in both sectors 1 and 2, and you can see the delta on the displays. He comes now then down towards the chicane. It's looking good.
This could be a 29 here. The delta is saying 5 tenths up.
Right, so let's see. The time he's got to try to beat is the 2 minutes 30.348. Josh Stanton does go quicker at 2:29.992. Fantastic.
Yeah, only car so far to go sub 2:30. And yeah, the delta looked phenomenal. It was 4 tenths coming out of Blanchimont, and then he nailed the brakes perfectly into the bus stop. So that's why I thought a 29 was possible, and he'll be really happy with that. Car's still improving, though.
And also bear in mind that it's a either rebuilt or new car that they're learning about, because the previous one was really badly damaged at Alton Park in race 1, never got out for race 2. So a real hammer blow for the team in Cheshire. Coming up towards the timing line, though, here is the James Townsend Aston. Jessica Hawkins is behind. What can Jessica do? Well, she was down in Sector 2 and breaks the beam now and therefore does not improve.
They're going on board with Jessica Hawkins here. You can see the car is pitched all the way into turn 1 here. Bit of curb, hard on the throttle, and now the run down the hill to Eau Rouge's GT4 cars with less aero than the GT3 are unable to go flat through Eau Rouge. Some of them even need a little dab on the brakes just to get into the right. Looks like Hawkins able to get through there just with a lift, and then over the top of the hill. That was right borderline for track limits there at turn 3.
I was going to ask whether that was acceptable. You've answered it for me. So Jessica Hawkins flirting with a track limit penalty. Josh Stanton, though, looks like he's done enough to hang on to that GT4 pole position, because he's got over 3/10 of a second in hand. He is still going for it, mind you.
Yeah, he's up in Sector 1, isn't he?
Yeah.
It's green, so as fast as that he's done through there thus far. Looking great on board as well, able to get it on the curb, although that gave him a snap of oversteer. That's the rear tyre starting to give up, the new tyre peak dropping away, and that's what you tend to find on the third flyer, the tyre going away to the tune of 5 to 6 tenths. So this could be a hard improvement now in Sector 3 as the car's starting to look lively.
He turns out of the Cours Paul Frere up to the curb on the outside of turn 15, which is a long exit to the corner, up towards 16 and then Blanchimont. That's where Rob Collard lost his lap time. And now we've got the cars leaving the pit lane for French GT4.
It's been a fast-paced session, hasn't it? GT3 leading into GT4 for British, now the French, and we go back on board with Stanton. I can't see the delta this time, so I can't be Nostradamus and guess his lap time, but at the moment he looks safer. He doesn't need to improve. He crosses the line and goes
2:29.5, so he has gone even faster. 2:29.586. Josh Stanton then goes even faster. So that's British GT qualifying part 1 done. And that's Jessica Hawkins going very, very, very wide.
The floor's hanging down in the middle there. You can see it's just dragging along. So I wonder if that car has run wide and done some damage. But the MKH team will need to have a quick look at that. The floor definitely hanging down. It'd be okay to drive, but just from a drag and performance perspective, that car not how it left the Pro Drive garage in Banbury.
So Jessica Hawkins brings that car back. Let's see whether or not that's a quick fix ready for GT4 qualifying. Very, very airborne indeed. Launched way, way over the curb. Never mind going through the gravel. That was very spectacular indeed. And yeah, you can understand why the floor would have picked up damage. The good fortune here is that unlike a British round where GT4 sessions go back to back, there's the French session and then GT3 Part 2, so they have got a little bit of time.
Yeah, the teams will have to check the regulations because the cars are in like a semi-park ferme, so I don't think they can go back into the garage to fix that car, so then they're limited on who can touch it. So, yeah, they will need a quick look at it. They don't seem in a mad rush right now. I wonder if they've seen what we've just seen, but that's actually where we lost the GT3 car of Banksy this morning in FP1. Did exactly the same thing, but spat it in the wall on the inside and sprayed that Porsche all over, and he certainly tagged the wall pretty hard there, Banksy.
And so that's been withdrawn, that car that he was going to share with Harry King, the pseudonym Japanese driver Banksy. Right, so this is the French GT4 and Alpine Elf Cup contingents taking to the circuit. A lot of weaving going on, trying to get warmth into the tyres. The Alpines, which is a division within the French GT Championship, to give an even bigger grid there. There's quite a disparity between the Alpine's pace and a GT3 pace. So the British GT3 drivers are going to have to be mindful in the race itself.
Yeah, so you've got the GT4 cars, same in French and British, about 10 seconds off, give or take the GT3. And then the Alpine Cup cars, another 5 seconds off that, so 15 seconds to the GT3. And you can see the lack of aero on the Alpine Cup, no rear wing. There's also the Ginetta Cup as well involved, which this morning were another 3 seconds slower than the Alpine Cup. So there's a lot to contend with for the British GT drivers, and there's going to be a lot of action for everyone to enjoy tomorrow in the race.
So the French Championship, which has already been to Nogaro and Dijon, being headed by Jérémy Coursin and Lucas Papin. They've had a win. Laurent Hergon and Lazare Latigo have had a victory, and 2 wins for Leo Jousset and Rudy Servol, who are 3rd in the championship. And we'll start to see at the end of the next lap where the relative times bleed in. The French Championship will have a grid behind the British GT4s, and their regulations are slightly different because this is the longest race there's ever been in the history of French GT since it went the GT4 format. So they don't have long-range fuel tanks. They're used to doing 1-hour races, so their pit stop will be to a time of 8 minutes and the cars will go into the garage. So don't expect the French and the British to be fighting for honours, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, why bring up history, David? It never happened before, right? But yeah, not a fair fight the way the regulations are, but still going to be some great action on the track, I think, between it. And there's always a matter of honour when you're representing your championship against another.
Yeah, the GT4 Nations Cup, you mean we're heading towards. So there is 901 Toyota. That's the Harry Reynolds Reese Lloyd car. The Supra coming out of the Circuit Toys team. Great name, man.
Really good. Slightly open-ended where you want it to go. And quite a lot of British drivers in the French Championship. Here's the speed difference between a GT4 and an Alpine Cup. 5 or 6 seconds up, like we said, and that's where it is. And it's really difficult to get through, and the Alpine's still in front.
And then magnify that to a GT3 car in the race. So, yeah, there's going to have to be an awful lot of good driving for the back markers when we get to tomorrow's 2-hour race. Only 1 pit stop, so it's an hour roughly stop, and then an hour to the checkered flag. But the GT4 and GT3 cars will stop a couple of minutes either side of that hour mark just to ease congestion within the pit lane. There, down towards La Source, they all pour. And who is at the moment the best of the French contingent? It is Klaus Kuiker in another of the Toyota Supras, the number 900 Circuit Toys car. Klaus Kuiker, the British driver, has gone briefly the fastest, but now the experienced Vinny Beltramelli goes even faster still in his Porsche.
Yeah, puts him 4th in the GT4 cars, doesn't it, if you combine British and them. So it's going to be a good battle there. I think Beltramelli will be right on the money of our British GT4 pole and Josh Stanton, because that's his first flyer. These cars are only getting faster as the session goes on, and they burn fuel and get the tyre temperature in the perfect window.
Yeah, slightly misleading in a sense because the French grid will be separated, but in terms of pure pace, it is interesting, and there's pride at stake here, if nothing else, over a qualifying lap. Lots of Toyota presence, as you see. 078, the 0 meaning that it is a French car. We've got a GT3 78, so 078 becomes the Acodis Toyota of Joran Leneutre and Cindy Goudet, who we've seen in GT4 Europe for the last couple of seasons. Acodis ASP, of course, running Lexus in the World Endurance Championship and GT4 Toyota Supras as well.
It's a funny trend, isn't it, how the Supra is so popular in French but not in British, the McLaren popular in British, not in French. So they're all running to the same regulation effectively under the SRO GT4 banner, but yeah, regional preference is an amazing thing, and it's great to see another version of GT4 racing out there. We're lucky enough to commentate on GT4 Europe together, and these are really like the feeder series into that. Although European GT4, the best GT4, most competitive GT4 category in the world.
And then you go to Germany, and there are lots of BMWs as well. So you're right about these regional preferences that the teams had. So the clock ticks on for part one of the French GT4 part of qualifying. And these cars accelerating up through Blanchimont now. Their part of the session should be 15 minutes rather than the 10 the British gets, so slightly elongated session. That might be to the benefit also of the Jessica Hawkins Aston team, that they can do a little bit more work on that car.
Is that a hangover of Brexit? Why have we got 5 minutes less?
Better regulations on it. So Alpine versus Toyota over the timing line. Joran Leneutre has now gone fastest within the French Championship in 0.78. Former Renault racer, Joran Leneutre for the Acodis ASP team now to the top. Thomas Drouet is second fastest, another experienced driver, Thomas Drouet, with Jérôme André in, guess what, an Acodis ASP Toyota. Ginettas are also popular in France, as well as in the British segment. So they're going up to La Source, one of the G56s, BMW, Alpine, Ginetta in the background. So Leneutre from Drouet, from Lucas Papin, the championship leader, third in the times at the moment.
I have to say, everyone's done a very good job of finding enough space, haven't they? I haven't seen many cars fall over each other because of traffic, and there's a huge amount of cars out there. Maybe this Supra is just going to catch this Ginetta towards the end of the lap, and that could be an issue in losing some lap time.
So now Joran Leneutre being held up a little bit, the Ginetta getting in the way. He's able to dart past, but that was a bit heart in mouth.
Yeah, one of those Ginetta Cup cars, again, showing you the pace difference between the normal GT4 and the more road-focused Ginetta Cup car there. And look at the gap, but yeah, it was a bit harder. The Ginetta, maybe not the clearest with its body language if he was staying left or right, but looks like the Toyota did a good job in the end, guessing which way to go at the right time. But yeah, I think Thomas Drouet there still would have had to ease out the throttle.
And we have a new fastest time, and it's from a familiar GT4 driver, Luc Ibanez, that we're familiar with from the GT4 European Series. He and Alex Papadopoulos are here for a bit of mileage for next week, and Luc Ibanez has gone fastest. We've also had an incident in the pit lane between the car of Jody Sloss and Nicolas Siebenschou, colliding with, or making contact with, Maxime Blanchemin and Sébastien Rambo's Audi. So that's going to be looked at by race control. That is your fastest GT4 car from the French Championship. So Mercedes AMG quickest, and we know that Ibanez is one of GT4 European Series top drivers.
Yeah, last year he was super strong. He struggled a little bit at the start of this year, I feel, but this is obviously a good track for the Mercedes GT4 car, and Ibanez hustling on really well at the moment, and yeah, 28.6, so these guys are quite a long way clear of the British, but that is wide out there, but not really monitored the track limits on the exit of Pool 1, so Ibanez might get away with that one, I think.
Checkered flag is looming, isn't it, as we cycle through this. So Ibanez then second now, because Joran Leneutre in the number 78 Supra has gone back to the top of the times. Joran Leneutre doesn't really feature in the championship, but he's doing a very, very good job within this first part of qualifying. And he and Cindy Goudet, I think, will be quite an interesting combination.
Yeah, looks like Ibanez is going to get caught behind this Audi, who is still pushing on, so won't jump out of the way. And I think Ibanez has got a tough choice here, either lunge into the bus stop or back out of it completely and try and get a gap for 2 more push laps.
So down towards the chicane, Ibanez to the inside line and darts ahead of the Audi. What's going to be interesting, though, is to see when we get the British GT4 cars back out, in the case of the higher graded driver in those, how close they are to an Ibanez time.
Yeah, that's a good statement. We've got Mikey Porter taking over from Josh Stanton. So Mikey Porter, we're used to seeing in the GT3 car. This is the first time he's raced British GT4 this year. As a big kick of oversteer from Ibanez, and you can actually see the Audi staying with him at the moment after such a pace disparity in Sector 3. It seems like Sector 1 favouring the Audis now.
Does indeed. You also see how dirty La Source is. It's had a busy day of racing, this Spa circuit, and a lot of gravel dragged onto the track. So Ibanez heads up the hill and has dropped to third now. Thomas Drouet just going second. Lucas Papin, the championship leader, currently is 5th. So if you took GT4 as a collective, Josh Stanton would be 6th on the grid, but it's 2 separate grids. But for the purposes of interest, Josh Stanton, lower graded driver in that car, 2:29, the 6th best GT4 time we've had.
Yeah, then a huge amount of cars in between him and Hadley Simpson. Must be 7 or 8 French GT cars separating them as well. So that maybe shows you what a good job Stanton did, even more when you see the gaps between him and the 2nd place car in British GT4.
Yeah, true enough, as they're down into Pouhon they go. Qualifying coming into the evening here. It's just gone 7:10 local time. Still very, very high temperatures. And drivers have had, in other categories today, races, and been talking about how hard it's been in the cars. Well, this is only a short, sharp session for these drivers compared to what they'll have as a race stint, but even so, it's hard work in the car. So, Joran Lenertre, Thomas Drouet, and then this man, Luc Ibanez, the top 3. Ibanez is no quicker in the first sector. And he is coming up towards Blanchimont without that much traffic ahead. So he might do all right here, getting himself to the end of the lap. Let's see. Ibanez goes now into Blanchimont, powering his way up towards the chicane, but I don't think it's going to be an improvement. If anything, actually, Ibanez might well be bailing because he's down in sectors 1 and 2. And although there's time to start another lap, not convinced the pace is there anymore. We're getting a few more track limit violations, one of which has just come from Enzo Richa's car, and yes, down the pit lane does indeed come Luc Ibanez, so he bails. Good little Alpine battle going on here, look, as the 2 of them are nose to tail. Down towards Bruxelles, and the one on the front foot, as it were, is the Vinny Beltramelli Fabien Duffier entry. Vinny Beltramelli at the wheel of it. He was briefly the quickest earlier on, but coming under attack on the track from the Lenny Kiefer Julien Never entry.
Yeah, it's been a clean session, hasn't it, really, with the amount of cars on. I haven't seen anyone have a spin, so the quality of this French GT field has been super high, especially in this Alpine without a rear wing. That is a loose car, so they're doing really, really well with that.
Yeah, the Alpines that used to have their own European Cup now brought into the French Championship, change of policy from Alpine, which looks to be scaling back its activities, doesn't it, with its decision on engines in Formula 1. It's pulling out of WEC and scaling back a little bit on its one-make championships. But there, bouncing up the curb, you saw was the Lenny Kiefer Julien Never car, which has Lenny Kiefer at the wheel of it. It's actually quite a long way down in the times, in fairness.
Yeah, this is our lead Alpine Cup car, I think, and it's a beautiful livery on it, easy one for us to spot. And again, this car had been so competitive, hadn't it, in European GT4, the Alpine, and it's faded away ever so slightly, but it makes a great noise as you hear the wastegate fluttering away as it comes off throttle.
That's the car of Leo Jusset, and coming down the hill, Jusset and Rudy Servo, the drivers of that car. So Leo Jusset 3rd in the times, and of the quick Ginettas, and there's a special class within French GT for the Ginettas, this car is currently quickest, the Thierry Sauve Alexander Berdeau entry, and the Ginettas a little bit further down the order. Leo Ponce winning one of the quick cars, and he's just gone ahead of this one of Alexander Burdo. Right, checkered flag out then. That cycles everybody through Q1. We'll see the same cars, but different drivers. And now the fun starts where we're trying to look at individual lap times, but adding what that driver has done to what his co-driver did in the first part of qualifying.
Yeah, in GT3, I mean, Kevin Say's done such a stonking lap. You see on the timing tower on your left, he's 6/10 clear of orange. So that means Marcus Clutton needs to be 6/10 quicker than Ben Green, the teammate to Kevin Say. So that's going to be a tall ask. And then your outside shot is the 78 car, which Alex Martin is another 6/10 back, so 1.2 seconds behind. So then Jared Roberski needs to find 1.2 over Ben Green. So I really struggle to see it coming from outside of those top three, and I really struggle seeing it outside the top two, to be honest. And I think Clutton and the 67 McLaren is going to need a Ben Green mistake or a track limit disaster, like we saw Rob Collard in the 63 Barwell Lambo in Q1.
But what will be interesting also is to see what difference a Ben Barnicoat or a Ross Gunn can make, their cars being 6th and 5th. And see whether they can bring themselves up the order. The timing display we have in our booth has just been reset, ready for Q2, which means we're going to have to do some mental arithmetic rather than, I think, being able to guarantee combined time. So this might be where Osborne's mathematics skills come into play. This is the overall order as we stand. Kevin Say and Ben Green the quickest, Simon Orange and Marcus Clutton second, Alex Martin, Jared Weberski third. Have a look at the different classes as well and pick out one or two of the other cars. But in French GT in the end, Thomas Drouet went fastest from Luc Ibanez and then Leo Jousset's Alpine. Joran Leneutre fourth in the Toyota. Josh Stanton 18th overall fastest British GT4 entry. I know on face value this is awfully confusing, but it does become a bit easier when we get to the race because GT3, GT4 and French GT all segregated into separate grids per championship, a bit like in Britain we know anyway. GT3 and GT4 start separately on safety grounds. What it does give us though is 54 cars on the circuit for the race, and if you have a look further down the order, the car of Ian Duggan, the Porsche 40th, he now gives way to Tom Bradshaw. Similar similar team for Luke Shaw and Jack Mitchell in their Ginetta. But without a lap time, there are a lot out of sequence towards the very bottom of the times, like the Rob Collard Lamborghini. And so now the work has to come from Hugo Cook. But if you can't add his time to anybody else's, it's going to be at the back of the grid. However, because GT3 will start ahead of everything else, it only puts him to the back of that segment. So it's not the end of the world, because it would, at worst, put that car 13th on the grid. Alex Martin then, pretty pleased with his efforts in number 78 Barwell Lamborghini, and we'll be able to have a quick word with him before we get into the second part of qualifying. Jared Weberski takes over Alex Martin's car. Alex with Bryn Lucas.
Well, Alex, we know it's tough out there. We saw what happened to your teammate across the garage, getting both those times wiped out. He's not here anymore, man. Stanley decided to get away from the TV cameras, which I don't blame him for. But yourself, 1.2 seconds off. Your teammate's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I played it quite safe. Because track limits have been an issue, you know, for everyone in the practice sessions. It is very, very hot, and it's easy to run off the track just slightly. I think Rob will be frustrated with himself, but also I think that they'll want to see like the video evidence that he has actually done it. But yeah, it's computerized and it's video camera, so I think, yeah.
Where are the main triggers? Where are the main areas out on track that you've been told to look out for in particular?
There's numerous camera points, but the big ones for us in our car is the exit of Eau Rouge and the entry and exit of Blanchimont. I played it quite safe. Unfortunately, that's meant my teammates got a 1.2 second gap to you know, which is, you know, unless something goes very well, that's an uphill task. But you know, in retrospect, I'm on. You know, I've still got my laps.
Plenty of uphills here at Spa. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
It's a valid point Alex Martin makes. He may have given away a little bit of pace, but he's kept the lap time, so they're in the mix on the grid.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking to myself, I wonder if Hugo Cook's even going to go out in the 63, because he's going to make no difference unless the car doesn't get a time in this session, and be better to save a set of tyres. But I can see him in the queue, third there in the 63 Barwell.
If there was another car that didn't get a time in either session, but the one time that Hugo did was better than the time that car had, it gets them another grid position, and it could even be a row.
Yep.
Given that you've got 13 cars.
As a greedy pro, unless they've got 2 sets of new tyres left for the race anyway on how they've worked their tyre strategy, I still think I would sit out the session, have a brand new set of tyres to bolt on as he jumps in that car tomorrow. Because that new tyre in the pit stop is worth so much. It could easily be 4 to 5 seconds on your out lap and first 3 to 4 push. But listen, Barwell are one of the top teams, if not the top team in British GT, so they've decided what to do, and Hugo Cook is venturing out to see what he can do.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the lap time is. As I say, our timing screens now are giving us the isolated part of qualifying, this second run, so we're not going to be able to instantly think about the grid, but we can certainly have a look at what this order is going to be and try to do some mental arithmetic as everybody goes pouring out. A candidate for the top time in this session then, Ross Gunn, Ben Barnicoat, what's he thinking?
Yeah, latter. It's hard. I'm a big Ben Barnicoat fan, so I have to try and be impartial. But he turns the car on so well, doesn't he? Charles Clark in the BMW would have been a shout, but it just seemed like Beeson struggled earlier on after being so strong this year. Hugo Cook, nothing to lose, so maybe he's going to roll the dice. Is he going to get some track limit warnings like Rob Collard? But yeah, I think Marcus Clutton's been very quick, hasn't he, all day as well. There's a huge amount to go for. We didn't really feature much of that 296 Ferrari, did we, from Rodin in session 1, but that car has been at the sharp end too.
Yeah, and they were racing together, Josh Buchan and Cameron Campbell in Australia a week ago. There is 67 now with Marcus Clutton at the wheel, and Hugo Cook is on a mission, isn't he? So he's got nothing to lose here, and pressing on. Hugo accelerates up towards pit path, and there's a very frustrated Rob Collard not wanting to be seen. Hugo Cook is wanting to be seen for all the right reasons now, pressing on.
Yeah, this out lap is just the first chance the driver gets a feel of the car on that new tyre, on the low fuel, get an indication of where they can brake. They don't want to push too hard and take life out the tyre, but likewise, you need to know what the car can do, and we're so close to being flat there through Stavolo 2, so that Barwell Lamborghini looking fully hooked up in that sort of mid, third, fourth gear speed corners. It was interesting that Alex Martin saying they're struggling, like their car was worse than others, keeping it on the track, and the one corner that they were done was here, coming through 16 on the entry to Blanchimont. So the cars have to keep a wheel on the white line, and Ben Barnicoat there just about legal on this outlap, but he'll be getting his eye in, and he's got some good space to the paddock car, Martin Plowman in front.
Martin Plowman is always quick as well. Still oddly underrated, Martin Plowman. He kind of doesn't get talked about in the same glowing terms as others when he should, because he's a very accomplished single-seater driver in Europe and America before he went to sports car racing. There's Ben Barnicoat then over the line, one of a number of drivers coming to Spa over the next 10 days, fresh from Le Mans. Ben Green goes then to set the first target lap. We know that's a quick car because of the way that Kevin Say went. Aaron Walker, by the way, who takes over the Ian Loggy Mercedes, has not left the pit lane, and I don't really think we're expecting that car to have even got back to the team, never mind be fixed. Yeah,
the team actually asked on the messaging app, could they have the car back to try and repair, but I think where it was left, it would only just be getting back now, and very similar sectors from everyone. Hugo Cook is the fastest through at the moment, 2/10 quicker than Ben Green, but his lap time is on the money. Remember, he only has to be 6/10 within Clutton to be on provisional pole, and I think that's going to be the story. At the moment, the lap times really aren't that fast. It's so warm here at Spa. I would say at the moment, Green's on for a mid to low 2:18. Our lap record here for qualifying in 2024, Tom Gamble in an Optimum McLaren, a 2:15.6 after we had all that work done on the track resurfacing. So it shows you the lack of pace due to the high temperatures here at Spa.
So Ben Green hustling on, Hugo Cook, as you say, lighting up the sectors, but he's kind of irrelevant because he can't fight for pole position. All he can do is fight for pride. So Ben Green is the one we're keeping an eye on here as the Mercedes then growls its way out of the Cours Paul Frere up towards Blanchimont, and an absolute best of the few that have gone through that middle sector. So let's see what he can offer up then at the end of this lap. It's going to be good. Comes out of Blanchimont, makes that run now towards the chicane. He'll stand on the brakes, he'll go down through the gears and the other side of the chicane, which is slightly uphill, as you see. Most things at Spa are uphill. When you think you're on the flat, you're not really. Up towards the line, that's still climbing, and he breaks the beam, and that lap that Ben Green does, 2:17.649, that's good.
Yeah, I think there's a bit more because his sector 1 was quite a long way off, so maybe the tyre wasn't ready for him. Hugo Cook about to finish his lap. It's the 17.6 of Ben Green in that Mercedes to beat. And what can Hugo Cook do? He does go faster, 300ths quicker than the Mercedes.
Yeah, 34 thousandths the margin. But the sadness is that without a lap time to bolt it to from this man, Rob Collard, Hugo ain't going to be at the front of the class. Ben Barnicoat goes even quicker, a 2:17.442. The other one to watch is going to be Ross Gunn, isn't it? And he's sort of out of sequence. He's not yet done sector 2.
Clutton crosses the line there, 5th in this session. Ben Green doesn't improve in sector 1, so maybe the Mercedes has done its tyres. We'll keep an eye on the sectors, and at the moment it's been clean, hasn't it, on track limits. No one has been done. Jared Roberski here, 3rd place on the combined times from Alex Martin. Needs a mega lap to get anywhere near the front row, in all honesty, and he does go quicker than Clutton, but not by enough at the moment.
That's the damage to the Mercedes. That's what Ian Loggy did to the car. Now 2C's trying to strip that, but there's no hurry. They know they can't get it out for this session, so they just got to work towards 2:30 effectively tomorrow afternoon and get the car ready for the race.
Did you say it wasn't that big a hit visually?
No, I said it didn't look that big a hit.
You're like a politician.
The devil's in the detail, you know.
Lovely exit from Ross Gunn there, kicking up the dust as he upshifts with the Aston Martin. And the side exit exhausting the Astons make that car sound absolutely insane. And insane first sector from the Ferrari of Josh Buchanan, who's gone fastest out of anyone there. Ross Gunn was the fastest in sector 3. So you're seeing the ebb and flow, aren't you, of the BOP and which car is strong where at the moment.
Yeah, that McLaren then looks rapid. We've also got Josh Buchan's Ferrari, as you say, looking quick in sector 1. So there's a real jumble of the order potentially here as the McLaren comes into piff-paff then. So Ben Barnicoat, even if he can't fight for overall pole, he can drag 77 up the order. So, OK, we've perhaps discounted that the battle for pole's anything other than 2 cars, but the grid can shuffle behind.
Yeah, Tilbrook was 1.4 seconds off pole, so there's a huge amount of work for Barnicoat to do here, and that's the problem with the pros, isn't it? 1.4 seconds in this session covers the top 9, whereas in the AM session it covered the top 5.
So we want to see the Ferrari lap of Josh Buchan. We want to see Jack Brown's lap as he comes into the chicane in the yellow-nosed McLaren. That's Marcus Clutton behind. So Clutton to the chicane exit, onto the power, and now heading up towards the line. So through goes Jack Brown, who was good in free practice earlier on in the day. This is, by the way, Ross Gunn went 4th on his first lap. This is the car in the hands then of Josh Buchan, winner of the gear race for touring cars at Macau last year, goes 2nd and 8 thousandths shy of Ben Barnicoat. That was a very, very, very good lap for Josh Buchan.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a Ross Gunn lap here as well when he gets across the line. Jared Roberski lifts himself up to 5th place, but keep an eye out for the Aston Martin here into the final corners. He's been on a very strong lap so far.
He has indeed. Gunn has pole in his sights as he comes up then now to break the beam and goes fastest on a 2:17.151. 0.168 of a second quicker than Ben Barnicoat. Excellent. The championship leader then goes to the top of the times.
Yeah, and it wasn't even his best sector 3 either, so he's pulled it out in sector 2. It was phenomenally fast there. High commitment needed in sector 2 for the speed through those corners, especially Pouon there, the double left. When we get to watch a car go through there, it's phenomenally fast. One of the best corners on the Spa circuit.
So the GT3 drivers down the pit lane, and GT4 will soon make its way to the circuit because the GT3 part of the session nearly is an end. We had the pit exit closed, legend, a moment ago. That's now gone away again.
Yeah, so if you snooze, you lose. But this was a green sector 1, so we're pushing on hard and just love that noise as it's on the overrun, the turbo anti-lag trying to spool up to make sure the drivers got the throttle response when they need it. And again, a great advertisement of why you should come and watch these cars live is the sounds, the smells, and everything that's going on. And Spa, one of the, I'd say, the most fan-friendly circuits. You can wander around and watch from every single corner here at Spa.
And the CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa in a week's time. 70 cars, all GT3, never mind combining classes, all star drivers in their own right. Well, Ben Green has done a good job, and 5th in this session on a 2:17.6. And if you add that to Kevin Say's time, still looking good for pole.
I'm confident this is pole. With my mental arithmetic, that was a fail in GCSE math. This is our pole car, probably.
Maybe, potentially. Almost definitely, possibly, certainly.
I think could be.
Excellent. Ben Green and Kevin Say, then, provisional pole winners. Times will be computed, and no doubt the teams will have a handle on it as well, because there'll be an army of people per pit box with an army of laptops and spreadsheets to try and work all this out.
Yeah, it's quite simple that Kevin Say was 6/10 clear, and Ben Green is 5/10 off pole, and actually the time he was really worried about was Marcus Clutton, who is 2.5 slower than him, so that's why I'm confident he's on pole.
Charles Clark's BMW pressing on.
This has got to be his last flyer, isn't it, from the timing we've got. He must have just crept across the line before the checkered flag was out. Pit exit is actually green for GT4, so we're going to have an overlap of in-laps for 3s and out-laps for 4s. So if you want to get a flavour for what the track will look like tomorrow, we're going to get that vibe there, although the majority of GT3 cars have actually made their way back to pit lane already.
Yes, got them creeping back in. Charles Clark then heading to the timing line. So that car through the right and the left of the chicane. He's going to try to finish the lap. Goes through. I'm not sure there's actually been a checkered flag for the GT3 cars here in the mix of classes. But anyway, they've had more than their 10 minutes. And there, Jack Collins then in BMW number 24, first out onto the circuit.
So actually, Cook going out means he will be in front of Aaron Walker, won't he? Because Aaron unable to do a lap because of Loggy firing it off. But Loggy did do a lap, whereas Collard didn't. So there was...
Even though Cook's lap is quicker than Ian Loggy's lap, it puts them one place up the grid.
Yes, which it is. Yeah, because Loggy did a 21 and Hugo did a 17.
Jack Collins a little bit deep into the pith path there. Accelerates out the other side. So these, remember, are the British GT4 class cars. And the BMW... Charles Clark's last lap deleted for a track limit infringement, but I don't think it was going to affect his position within Q2 anyway. Jack Collins then is going to be the first driver across the line. We'll get the British GT4 cars cycle through, and then we turn our attention to the cars from the French Championship again.
Watching these GT4s go through Blanchimont, you can see how much commitment is needed there. 200, 210 Ks on entry, and it's a blind entry as well. The way the wall on the inside blocks the driver's vision, you have to really commit into it. Muscle memory is so important there, and a lot of the time at Spa, you're even wondering what the weather's doing around the corner, but that really doesn't seem a consideration this weekend. We're in an amazing run of weather here, and next week, seeing like it could get up to 35 degrees as well, so it could be the hottest Spa 24-hour on record.
Yeah, if anything, it's cockpit temperatures that's the concern, not rain, which you often get. But that's not to say, given high temperatures and Spa's fickle climate, that you couldn't get some thunderstorms during the race. A lot can change in the weather in a week. There going over the line is the Ronan Pearson, now driven Aston Martin from the Stratton GBR Graham Brunton Racing team. Colin Turkington for WSR in the BMW. First time WSR has been here since 1987 and Formula 3. It's a long, long time that Dick Bennett's squad has been to Spa. And there, heading up the hill, is 84, which was Blake Anglis, now Revy Lake.
Our youngest driver on the grid, young Revy, graduate from Ginetta Juniors. You can see on the track map on your top corner where this 84 car is. The track map obviously unable to show the gradient, and it first dive down the hill. Now first part of this lap all uphill. Now it's all downhill pretty much through Brussels, then into Speaker's Corner. Important to get to the apex here, helps the car rotate. If you miss that, you then run wide into that gravel trap. You can see all the witness marks from the tyres. And this is Pouon. This is the double left I was raving about. And it's difficult because it's 2 corners for the price of 1. You get it into this first apex, you let it run wide, but then you've got to tuck it back in because all the grip is there from the camber. You can see the speed rising, 200 k's, 124 miles an hour on exit, then hard on the brakes, down to 3rd gear, into the piff path. This is where the curbs again like to be abused. You see the dust get kicked up later in the race. Dab on the brakes to rotate the car, and then into the first of the Stavellows. A short break, get the car in once more, curb helping to rotate the car, then stay wide on this exit curb because it opens up the second part and you can be flat there if the car allows. It's understeer that's the limiting factor. That's where we saw the Aston Martin of Jess Hawkins go off at the end of her session, and now we're full gas again. The speed rising just shy of our VMAX speed at the end of the Kemmel Straight, but we're never really straight into Blanchimont. Dab on the brakes needed in the GT4 cars due to the lack of aero compared to GT3, which can be flat through there. And then one last break of the lap, but it's a big one into the bus stop chicane. A lot of cars like the curb on the inside to help open up the last corner, and then go straight in the steering wheel as quick as you can to fire it to the finish line.
Over the timing line they pour. So at the moment we're looking at Tom Bradshaw's Porsche Cayman being the fastest, 2 minutes 30. There is the car that now Mikey Porter is behind the wheel of, the car that Josh Stanton drove in the earlier part of qualifying. Mikey, oddly, new to British GT4, but we know from his GT3 and his Ginetta exploits he's a very quick driver, and this is what it looks like on board.
Yeah, just maybe illegal on track limits on the exit there. Grabs 6th again. Look at the speed rising, rising, rising. This lap actually looks like it's slightly down on the 29.5 that was done by Stanton. I think it's going to be in the 29s, but I think he's going to lose this lap maybe to track limits and maybe improve anyway. And yes, 29.6. So at the moment on a combined, they are pole position for this 59 optimum run car.
Great noise from the McLaren as well. Without the same aero in a GT4 car, there's a lot more input from the driver. They're not doing the same speeds, of course, but they're still physical things. And we are getting a track limit warning, but it's Jack Mitchell who had briefly gone fastest. So the lap that put him second is about to be taken away, and that's going to promote this car back to second in the times. The Toro Verde GT Tom Bradshaw Cayman. He was last year's Porsche Cayman champion, Porsche Sprint Challenge GB. Was that just the right side of the line?
Yeah, it's just not monitored though. So as a driver, you know the hot spots, and that's where you're on your best behaviour. It's like when you go round to the in-laws, you can probably do 2 or 3 hours of not swearing, but then when you get home, you let it all out. And that's basically the same with the track limits. You try to be well behaved at the 2 or 3 where you know you can get done for it, but everywhere else you just let loose and send it, and you kind of get away with it.
Got a bit gravelly, didn't he, coming through turn 14. So this second part of qualifying for the British GT4 class, and you're looking at Tom Bradshaw, who is now the fastest. Why is that? Mikey Porter's lap's been taken off him as well.
What was that noise? Sounded like a machine gun going off. Has someone got some floor flapping? Was it this Porsche or was it the FSR Full Send Racing Aston? But strange noise. I think it must have been the Darren Turner car, because this car looks and sounds A-OK.
Yeah, so Tom Bradshaw the quickest, and that lap's better again, 2 minutes 30. Behind, as you say, is Darren Turner. We've also keeping an eye on the Jack Collins BMW. Quickest goes Revy Lake now, the McLaren 229.8, the blue car there, that's just gone top. But yeah, that lap of Mikey Porter was also taken away for a track limit offence.
Yeah, not surprised on that one. So Revy Lake goes fastest, but that lap 2/10 slower than the legal Mikey Porter lap, when I think Mikey can do a mid to low 29 here. Turkington straight line to the line, and the reason why, that was the fastest lap we've had, 29.3, fastest in this session. Here's Mikey Porter. What can he do into the final sweeping parts of the bus stop chicane? Opens it up. We haven't seen if he's stayed legal this lap. He's going to break the beam. Needs to beat a 29.3 of Colin Turkington, and does. 29.1.
Darren Turner's had a lap time taken off him for track limit abuses. And this car, Mikey Porter, also lap 2 deleted. That's a second infringement, so that's the 2 laps of Mikey Porter both being taken away to the annoyance of the team.
Yeah, I think the mechanics saw it as we were looking at them going back on board. So where are we illegal? Last lap, we followed through here. It looked okay at turn 3, fine. So far, we're so good on this lap. We've now got the Kemmel straight, coming into Lacombe, right, left, right. He will cut a lot on the left part of it at turn number 6. Again, it's not monitored, and so he should get away with it. Hard on the brakes, down 3 gears, on top of the curb, as close as you can to the gravel trap, and then cut the left here. No problems there. He was actually legal anyway. Breathe out the throttle, get the car in and go again, full on the gas. This is where we start to dive downhill. Huge snap of oversteer. The rear tire's gone, but we need to get a lap in for Mikey Porter. 0 laps on the board. Trying to V off Brussels. You can hear the front tyres starting to lose grip as well. Drag it over to the right, small brake. This is the apex curve, that's important. You can see the rubber down, having to shift down there. So he's obviously struggling with a bit on entry as well. The lower gear helps the rotation. This is pull on, short as you can on the brakes. Roll the speed in, pick the throttle up, settle the rear down with the weight. Keep the throttle on full if you can, but the rear of the car really unhappy on throttle. It looks like he's got understeer on entry, oversteer on exit. So now he's trying to get it on top of the curb. And we've had a real mix of track limits. The first lap was 3, the second one was 17. So we've cleared the lap so far. We've still got the hot spot of 17 to go. Here we go into Stavolo 1, wide of the apex. He's starting to overdrive now. He knows he's got to get a lap on the board, but the tyre for me is gone. It's probably dropped 4 or 5 tenths, but he needs to try and hustle on here. So the next corner, the next left isn't a problem. It's the one after. The team will be telling him track limit 17. He needs to be careful on entry and exit. He's going to have to go for a longer break here. We're good on entry. He's good on line. The car's going to stay on the track for him. He was very conservative there. Maybe a tenth or 2 lost, but importantly, he's going to get a lap. Hard on the brakes. You can do a track limits on the exit of the bus stop chicane, but so far we're looking good for the lap. He's going to unwind the steering and just about stay legal. The white line does count. He's going to cross the line. What's the time going to be? It's a 29.0 provisional pole in this session.
So that, hopefully, is going to stand for him. Darren Turner's had 2 laps taken away. So Josh Stanton looks a bit relieved and thinks that might do it for us for pole. Colin Turkington is up to 2nd. Jack Mitchell is up to 3rd in this segment of qualifying. And this is Mikey Porter having backed right out of it. He knows he's done enough. That's been a welcome boost for the team after the earlier 2 laps taken away.
Yeah, I think he's breathing a sigh of relief, and I think he's letting the car as well, because that was heart in your mouth moment. And it was a good lap in the end, even though I think the tyre dropped off. That was half a second quicker than qualifying 1 time. Of course, less fuel, so we always see an improvement, but good job by Mikey Porter.
As now the French GT cars go pouring back out onto the circuit. Toyotas and Alpines are plenty. Let's see what comes out on top.
I'm hearing this
session.
Well, sorry, we didn't see Jody Sloss get out, did we? And we saw they were under investigation for contact in pit lane. Actually hearing from Gus Bowers, the chief instructor down there at Mirage Racing, that car won't get out in the qualifying session due to the damage sustained in pit lane in Q1.
So big frustration then as you look at the 024 Porsche. That's the car that Nico Ferrarant shares with David Levy. Of the Toyotas, there is 901, which is now Reese Lloyd, the Welsh driver. And the sister car with now Hugo Pop behind the wheel, trying to find a way through on track. Yeah, last year the French GT Championship dropped entries to an extent, so it's been boosted this year by the Alpines and the Ginettas coming back in, and that all helps because people want to be on a busy grid. They want a championship that's in good health, and it's far more attractive the more cars that are there.
Yeah, it's like when you walk into a nightclub and it's empty, you leave straight away. When it's busy, it doesn't matter if it stinks and the drinks are expensive, you stay and it's good fun, and that's the same with motorsport. The more the merrier.
In fairness, if you're in any nightclub, people walk out.
That's the stink.
Exactly, yeah. And you don't buy a drink, so they've got no choice, really. So the clock to 11 minutes for our final segment of qualifying. And again, we'll see where these cars filter in on our notional grid against the Brits. 1 or 2, as you can see, staying right down into the chicane to try to find clear track space. Best lap of the night, Ross Gunn's GT3 Aston, a 2:17.1, but the French GT4 cars still fighting for their own grid positions here. That's 87, which is now Jérôme André, 5th in the championship. So he and Tom Adrouet could do with a good result this weekend.
Yeah, and Spa's one of those tracks that's needs so much commitment. So if you haven't got the trust in the car, it really starts to show. And at the moment, we're seeing quite a steady outlap here from Andre, just trying to get that temperature, but he's slightly offline, and that's the problem. Then you get dirty tyres, so as they come up to temperature, they're not in their peak performance. So the positive is he's in a huge amount of space, isn't he? You can't see a car before him or after him, so he could have a very good remaining 10 minutes of this session just purely on how much space he's got.
The other thing for the drivers now is that the sun's just starting to dip a little bit, so they've got that in their eyes as much as they are trying to factor everything else in, like be quick, be tidy, avoid track limits. And we are getting track limit offences quite early in this part of the qualifying period. So you're looking at then Jérôme André, and now the Alpine, you can see, slows right down to try to find some clear track space. Bit of tyre preparation done, and as long as you don't impede, you can lag back, get as much clear track as you can in front of you.
Yeah, he's got some really good space, hasn't he? As, you can see the differences between the cars tomorrow. Maybe the French GT4 and the British. The main one's going to be the headlight difference. They're yellow in British, and you can see they're white traditional here, which almost in France they used to be yellow, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
Should have swapped. And then the Racing Lubes banner on the French GT4 versus the British GT. So some visuals where you can spot the differences, but that windscreen banner is going to be quite an easy one to spot, I think.
004, which is the race cars consulting Rudy Serval Alpine. That's 3rd in the championship. They've had a couple of race wins this season, those two. So he and Leo Jusset should be there or thereabouts during the course of the race. So let's see what Serval now can do by way of a lap time. 8.5 on the clock.
Sorry to bring up the past, but Will Orton didn't get out, did he, in the MKH car that we saw Jess Hawkins run wide in qualifying 1. So
right.
We missed that, I think. So we'll just clear up our British GT4 admin that Will Orton didn't record a lap time, so they're going to start last in British GT4 tomorrow.
Correct, indeed. Yes, they'll go to the back of that group. So we are now seeing Cindy Goudet go fastest in French GT4 from Hugo Pop, and then David Levy. Josh Henry was 4th. Pascal Houteau has improved, and so has Fabien Duffier now to go 2nd. But Cindy Goudet's Toyota at the top of the time. Cindy, a former hill climb champion. But this is the Alpine that Jérôme André, that Rudy Serval is behind the wheel of, and is coming up to the end of Sector 2 on his first flying lap.
Yeah, car's lively, isn't it? Light on its toes, able to manipulate the weight of the car to flick it around through the piff-paff, and again, just get a bit addicted to being silent and listening to the wastegates chattering away as they lift off throttle for the brake zones, and the very famous Alpine headlight layout with those extra 2 in the middle. Great for endurance racing at night to be able to project the light even further forward to help the drivers. You can see why he's flashing one of the Ginettas, potentially going to hold him up right at the end of this lap.
Into the chicane then, so the time they're aiming for at the moment is a 2:31. That's the best lap from Cindy Goudet. As over the timing line then now goes the Alpine fastest out of French GT, and that is a 2:30.040. That is 1.9 seconds quicker than anything else, so that's a very, very impressive lap.
Yeah, so the benchmark time from qualifying 1 was Jérôme there on a 28.6, so still a bit of time to find for everyone, but only 6.5 minutes remaining.
Thought I heard a squeal of tyres there going into piff-paff, and I did. And off the road, look, has gone 0.63, and that is the Stéphane Lemeray, Stéphane Oriocombe Alpine.
I think your hearing was good, because that's actually, I think that's on the entry to Pouon, is it not? Turn 10, it looks like to me.
It is Stéphane Lemeray behind the wheel of the car, the Belgian journalist. And he's gone a long way off, as you say, on the exit of Pouhon. And this could be a red flag, couldn't it, if he's in the gravel?
I think that gravel dust is unrelated as well.
Oh, is it?
I'm pretty sure he's on the entry of T10. We're here looking back on the exit of T13, but very dramatic. I wonder if the race director is going to allow some cars to get lap time in, because he's in quite a strange place. He must have lost it on the entry under braking to Pouhon, and we go red flag with enough time remaining. And the clock has jumped up in time, because last time I looked it was 6:30 and it's now 6:58 remaining. Am I going mad?
Okay. You might be going mad.
Oh, that's good.
On another screen, the clock is still ticking. So, anyway.
Make sure we cut the right wire then.
6:58 is seemingly what the race director is going to give them on the resumption of the session. They're going for the pit lane is the Guérin's Ginetta, Victor and Stéphane. Stéphane Guérin we've seen in GT4 and in Super Trofeo Lamborghini races as well. Yeah, it's going to be a 6-minute, 58-second restart once the track is clear.
Gives quite a lot of time, actually, to get cars back out there and able to set a representative lap. I wonder if some of the teams will take this opportunity to bleed the tyre pressures and have another go at it. They won't be able to change tyres, but that tyre pressure bleed for some cars can really feel like another lifeline at getting a lap in. Or the other way, if you feel that was as fast as you can go, maybe you're going to box up. But I really don't think many cars feel like they've gone as fast as they could have gone, because it's still that Alpine time of a 2-minute 30.040 that's fastest. So I still think there's a second and a half on the table out there for some of these cars.
Yeah, they were still sort of finishing prep laps, weren't they, some of them? But here, the Toyota making its way to the pit lane, the Circuit Toys car of Reece Lloyd. There are a couple that hadn't got a lap time in from the French Championship, one of which, Sébastien Rambo's car, had only just gone out, others that are not able to after problems in Q1. Shouldn't take long to move that Alpine, but they need everybody in the pits before they can let marshals go trackside. Yeah,
we have seen a few times today where the cars are under control. They'll get the Manitou out into position to get ready, but again, just slight differences in championship regulations. French GT are not needed to slow to 80. They're slower at the moment. You can see the speedo above the gear there, 75. But British GT, they have to be doing a maximum of 80 Ks, and the marshals are actually already on the scene. It's going to be a very short tow. In fact, it's already on the tarmac, so the car on its way. And ironically, the crime scene will be clear before cars get back to pit lane.
Well, indeed. So there, the car making its way to the pit lane, and Stéphane Lemeray then will be heading rather red-faced to the pit lane. Stéphane has done so many laps around Spa in all manner of categories that to have him doing that is slightly odd. Now, let's go back to the pit lane while we await the resumption of the session. Kevin Say and Ben Green, we reckon, are our pole position drivers, and Bryn Lucas has caught up with them. Let's get to the pits and hear from those two drivers.
Well, Kevin, we spoke to you earlier on, and you did a really, really good job in your first stint. But I want to talk to you there, Ben, because that was P5 in your session. That's what we saw anyway, and we believe, because of the way the timing works here, that's good enough for pole position with our good maths. You must be pretty happy with that, but it was a tough session.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, really happy. Kevin did a great job in his session to go out there and get it on the first lap before there was any incidents or any gravel on the track. So, yeah, great job by Kevin. And, yeah, I did my job as well. Went as quick as I could. And, yeah, people are still improving at the end of the session somehow. But, yeah.
How much are you having to sort of not drive within yourself, but drive carefully? Because we've seen track limits as well been taking people's times away from them.
Oh, you have to push. You have to push flat out. You know, if you don't push hard enough, people will go faster than you. So, yeah, you take a lot of risk. And my lap was legal. I was very happy it was legal because normally the first lap is the quickest. But yeah, so I think we're in the best place to start the race tomorrow, and we'll go from there.
And very quickly tomorrow, Kevin, you've got a very different time for the race, so different conditions out here.
Of course, yeah, and traffic will play a big role tomorrow. So whoever is smarter on traffic will gain tons of lap time on the track. So yeah, let's see. It'll be it's everyone's game.
We'll go and rest up. Well done.
Thank you.
So then the session will be back live as soon as, and the cars into the pit lane. You can see the Ben Green, Kevin Say, Mercedes AMG, and that the British GT pole winning car. Really good effort that by the two of them. So the Mercedes will start on pole position. Now, this is where, in all endurance races, people start to say, yeah, but, you know, long race, 2 hours, is pole that relevant? And then you say, yes, but you're at the head of the queue and you're out of jeopardy. But as we saw at Monza in GT World Challenge Europe, it's not always the case.
No, and the problem here when you're the lead car, let's say Kevin Say keeps the lead for the stint, is you're going to be the first car waking up all the lap traffic. So all of the Alpine Cup, all the Genetic Cup, all the French GT4, all the British GT4, you're the first car to go, hey, I need to come past them. 10 seconds a lap, 15 seconds a lap faster than you. And that is a hard, hard job. And sometimes it's easier being behind the leader when you're lapping cars.
So Ross Gunn, Ben Barnicoat, Josh Buchan, Hugo Cook, Jared Waberski, Ben Green, the order of the top 6 in British GT, GT3. In British GT4, we were looking at Mikey Porter from Colin Turkington from Jack Mitchell, Jack Collins, Revy Lake, Tom Bradshaw. And you can see here the French GT cars getting ready to go back out. They've got effectively 7 minutes on the clock still. So the last few join the queue in the fast lane. And as soon as we can go green at the end of the pit lane, then we'll get the session underway, as looks like Audi's going to lead them out. 1 or 2 trying to elbow their way into the queue, as you know you do when there's a traffic jam. You get as far up as you can and then get out your elbows.
And then you quote the highway code, don't you? And it says merge in turn. So even though you know the lane was closing 2 miles ago and no one's in it, just because you've pushed in front of 154 cars, you shouldn't feel guilty. And that's why I'm always happy to chop across the front of anyone who disagrees with me. Things probably worth highlighting. I would say Jack Mitchell has done a job in GT4 Pro-Am. So his lap alongside Luke Shaw, I think, are going to be the Pro-Am pole position cars come tomorrow in that 42 Ginetta.
Right, we'll get things back underway as soon as it's Stefan Lemray's causing that red flag, has lost his lap time, his best lap time. So not great news. And as soon as possible, we will get things back underway. Door closes, green flag waves. So our final 7 minutes are underway. Clock ticks on down, and of those 7 minutes you're going to lose good 2.5, maybe 3 minutes really for an outlap.
Yeah,
if you're at the back of the queue, you're really compromised.
Yeah, so it could be 4.5 minutes maybe for that lead Audi remaining when he starts his first session as we go on board a Supra. Firing out pit exit. This part of the track is flat out, so in the race this is all valuable time, and the good drivers practice it and the better drivers learn where you can even cut the inside there and get away with it to gain some time, because it's a long run as well. So kilometre hour gained on pit exit. You go all the way here as we break to Lacuma. I thought Alpine and Toyota were going to make contact, but they managed to avoid that, and it's really the Super Alpine Cup, isn't it, as they go up the Camel Straight. It's been 2x2 all the way in rotation between that very popular Super and the very popular Alpine as well.
Yes, indeed. Busy track then. Everyone comes pouring back out. Ginetta's getting themselves together, but what you want is like this, to be on your own, nobody around, and on a nice long 7-kilometre lap, you can get out early, then you've bought yourself that clear track space, and it can probably stay clear all the way to the end. That's the car of Sebastian Rambo. Now this is a car that needs a lap time because it has not done a time prior to the red flag, so it's a car that does need some sort of lap here. Now 59, Mikey Porter and Josh Stanton, fastest in British GT4. Let's get to the pits. Let's hear from those two right now.
Well, Josh, this is something that you really needed when it came down to the championship. Great start for the season, but it all went a little bit wrong at Alton Park.
Yeah, it did. It's been a fantastic way to come back from it. It's been a really tough few weeks for both us and the team. So enormous thanks to them and for everyone for their support in getting us back here. But yeah, fantastic result today, and hopefully we can back it up tomorrow.
Yeah, it's only half the job done, obviously, at this stage, as you know, a long way to go. But Mikey, it's a fresh start, back in the championship again, and a different teammate and things for yourself to come to Spa. Little running time in that car, and you've done this with it. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely mega to be back in British GT. Literally got the call at 9 AM yesterday morning, packed my bag, got on the Eurotunnel and came straight here. But yeah, my first time also driving the Artura as well in a race environment. But yeah, the car's absolutely mega. The team have done an amazing job. Josh done an amazing job in his first quali. So kind of just bringing it home for me because he did such a great job.
Go and cool down and chill out and get ready for tomorrow. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mikey Porter, somebody that's going to be on duty next week in GT World Challenge Europe as part of that CrowdStrike 24 Hours of Spa, the biggest and best GT3 race in the world. Meanwhile, we're down to the last 4 minutes here as the French GT cars go pouring through. As I say, Sebastian Rambo, that we were looking at in that Audi, had not done a lap time before the red flag, so he's got to deliver something. No wonder they were keen to get him out first.
Yeah, exactly. The best chance to, what's it going to be? He's probably going to get 2 flying laps in. He crossed the line first, so yeah, he should be able to get it a couple of laps in, but he's got to keep on the track, hasn't he? The track limits feel very prevalent in qualifying today as the drivers are pushing on, obviously, but the track limit thing is always infuriating for the teams because they have to get that lap on the board.
There, Alex Papadopoulos in the Mercedes getting up the curb. Again, he and Luki Ivaniev here just for a bit of mileage, bit of track time, bit of testing before next week, which is permitted. Indeed, it's actively encouraged. The championship organisers saying, why not come and do the French round? And the NM racing team, which was here anyway with GT2 cars, taking the opportunity.
Yeah, it's perfect track time. Obviously, SRO running the same Pirelli tyre between all their championships, so everything they're learning now, they'll be able to use next weekend for European GT4.
Assuming the temperature is the same, and there's no reason to suggest it won't be, looking at long-range weather forecasts. 2 3/4 minutes are on the clock. Sebastian Rambo did start a flying lap, so yes, they're only going to get 2 flyers in, but 7 minutes sounded like quite a lot. But of course, on a long lap, well, you know, that's going to be a peril in terms of the lap times you can do and the number of laps you can do. Right, getting held up in traffic here is Papadopoulos, isn't he? Behind the Alpine. Up towards Paul Frere. So right now, within the French GT section, it's Rudy Serval the quickest from Joshua Henry, from Hugo Pop, Laurent Hergant, Cindy Goudet has dropped to 5th, and David Levy 6th. Then it's former Clio racer Kevin Jimenez and GT4 European Series AM champ Pascal Hutto. All right, Papadopoulos making short work of cars around him now, and he needs to, because he's another one that hasn't really done a proper flying lap.
No, he's nowhere on the board, is he? 13 seconds off at the moment, so this will be his first go at it, and he will get one more flyer after this, and it looks like without traffic potentially to the next Alpine, he's going to go across the line and put himself on the board, so he's closer to the mix, but still a fair bit to find.
And one more shot, really, because we've got 1.5 minutes on the clock. What about Sebastian Rambo when he went through? The lap time that he offered up has moved him into the mix. I would offer you 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 12th now within class he's going to be. BMW getting out of the way in the background as the Alpines and Ginettas come pouring through. We have got much less than a lap time left in the session, and we're about to have the last minute. And then the background, very sideways, Porsche Cayman, the car of Nico Ferrerin and David Levy. David Levy at the wheel of it in 004 now is Rudy Serval. And this is still the fastest car from Q2 of the French GT drivers.
Interestingly, Stéphane Lemeray, who caused that red flag, has just done a lap that puts him 2nd in this session in the AM class in French GT.
But as losing his best lap time as the cause of the red flag, we've also just had a lap time removed from the Lucas Papin and Jeremy Coursin Schumacher CLRT Porsche, the championship leaders. So if you take the isolated French GT section, Rambo now down to 12th, but there in 88, the Alpine, Lucas Papin, Jeremy Coursin. Right, flag out, clock's hit 0, that's the end of qualifying. Anybody that's on a lap now needs to make it count because it's the last chance.
It's the first time I've ridden on board an Alpine GT4. It's loud, isn't it? It looks...
It's what?
What? And You can see the delta time on the Race Logic black box there. Looks like plus 0.8, so that would be to his teammates' time. Hard on the brakes all the way from 6th gear down to 1st.
But this is the car that's last in the times because the laps have all been deleted for track limits, so this has got to stand. It's only relying on a 3-minute 5 as up across the line now. It will go, and it is going to be an improvement to put the car second in French GT. 2 minutes 30.137, so Jeremy Coursin thankfully does get a decent lap time in right at the end.
Yeah, lucky there. One of the Supers running wide out the last corner could lose the lap there. As we see another Alpine cross the line, and that is the checkered flag.
For Rudy Serval, who is the fastest, so he maintains the top time. And actually in Q2, British GT4 ahead of French, possibly because you've got your higher graded driver in a number of those British GT4 cars and they're a bit quicker. Yeah,
I think the red flag as well was at an awkward point, wasn't it, in this French session? So, yeah, it was kind of 1-1 in this opening bout. So it'll go down to the race tomorrow.
Indeed so, but the French cars on different regulations with much longer pit stops, and therefore, in terms of the outright GT4 victory, it's going to go Britain's way. There, Ginetta number 30 up towards the line. That's the CMR car, Thierry Soave at the wheel. So there are still a few that didn't get out, including the Jody Sloss, Nicolas Siebenschuh Aston with some damage. Work will have to be done across the 2 hours of the race tomorrow. There's 31 taking the flag, the Schumacher GP Alpine of Julien Neveu, and that car, don't want to say never came alive, well down in terms of its lap time.
Never say never.
So more track limit dramas. Oh yes, Neveu's last laps has just been taken off him for track limits. But a good effort then by Rudy Serval to go fastest in the Alpine. That car from the Race Cars Consulting stable, and that will put them up to the top of the GT4 times. Reece Lloyd's Toyota has also lost the lap, so perhaps after that red flag, as you say, it did come at an awkward time, but the pressure getting to people late on and over-driving and losing lap times. Right, let's have a look then at the overall results. Fastest from GT3 will be Ross Gunn. From Ben Barnicoat second, Josh Buckham third, Hugo Cook fourth, and Jared Waberski, Ben Green, Marcus Clutton and Martin Plowman round out the top 8. Charles Clark for 9th, Jack Brown, Tom Wood, Callum McLeod rounding out the GT3 part of the order. And then Mikey Porter 13th overall, fastest in GT4, Colin Turkington, and then Jack Mitchell behind him, Jack Collins being the driver 4th within GT4 and 2nd in GT4 silver as well, that pole being Stanton and Porter's. And then keep going down and you find 18th overall, the Race Cars Consulting Alpine of Rudy Serval from Joshua Henry and Jeremy Coursin, John Hartshorn and Ronan Pearson 28. But again, we now segregate this for the purposes of the race with GT3, then British GT4, then French GT4 being the order. 1 or 2 people to watch will include Kevin Jimenez in number 6 Toyota, Stefan Lemeray after causing the red flag in number 63 Alpine likewise, and it's going to be a 54 strong grid that we get to with an awful lot of battling within the separate classes, and for some a fair amount of work to be done after no times set in Q2 and a long way back on the respective grids. So tomorrow we look forward to what's going to be a very lively race. It is going to be underway at 2:20, and we look forward to your company here at Spa-Francorchamps.